Hi, Gunner's Recaps here. Today I'm going to explain episodes 1 through 3 of Coffee Please, released in 2018. The movie begins with the writer and popular webtoon artist of Shim Kung Toon, Im Hyun Woo, who walks into a dark room. He runs into some men who try to attack him but fail. After taking care of the men, he barges into a room where his chubby assistant, Lee Seul-bi, is tied up. Sadly, after a look of disappointment at Seul-bi, he instead walks around her and rescues Kang Yi-na, who is also tied up behind Seul-bi. Just then, Seul-bi wakes up, realizing that it was only a dream. She also realizes that she's at a bus stop after being pushed away by a man whose shoulders she had fallen asleep on. He yells at her for breaking his shoulders because of her heavy head, but she casually apologizes and rushes into the bus. Meanwhile, at the Shim Kung Toon office, Hyun Woo is having an interview about his upcoming webtoon, which is romance-based. The reporter points out that all his books have been romance-based and wonders if Hyun Woo has had dating experiences before. But Hyun Woo tells her that love is everywhere around them. Back on the bus, Seul-bi meets her co-workers Lee Dong-gu and Jong Suk. They exchange pleasantries, and while standing, a passenger stands up to wait at the door for the next stop. Dong-gu then offers Seul-bi the empty seat, and just when she's about to take a seat, the older man by the window yells at her not to sit, saying she would suffocate him due to her size. The boys take it to heart, but Seul-bi just waves it off with a smile. At Shim Kung Toon, Yi-na, the vice team leader of Joytoon, walks in. She teases Hyun Woo for pretending to know about love when he doesn't. But he ignores her and joins the others at the other office. Seul-bi invites him to join them for breakfast, but Yi-na butts in and mocks Seul-bi for gaining so much weight because she eats too much. Hyun Woo then cuts her short and asks her to apologize for Seul-bi, but she walks out instead. Hyun Woo then asks to see Seul-bi before returning to his office. She joins him there, but ends up getting an earful about her mistakes and the recent drawings she had submitted. He also asks her to get out if she doesn't wish to work for him anymore, but she apologizes and returns to work. They all head out for lunch a while later using the company's bus. There, they meet up with fellow writers, team leader Ma and PD Gu of Joytoon, who make fun of Seul-bi by calling her Fat Bee and sending her on errands, which should originally be done by waiters. Hyun Woo gets mad and tries his best to defend her, but Seul-bi just waves it off as usual. Yi-na soon joins them at the table and joins hands in mocking Seul-bi. Seul-bi is later asked to get onions, and when she leaves, Hyun Woo gets even more agitated. While serving the onions, Seul-bi sees a little kid struggling to get a snack from a table. She lends a hand and turns to leave, but is handed trays of food to serve at their table. On her way back, she overhears the Joytoon writers making fun of her, saying she wouldn't have gotten employed if she didn't know how to draw. She gets fed up and turns to leave, but bumps into someone and spills all the food on her clothes. The noise attracts the attention of her colleagues as Hyun Woo rushes up to her. She runs away, but Hyun Woo catches up to her and lends her his coat. He asks if she's okay, but she asks to get a cup of coffee before returning. He then asks her to see her at work instead before she leaves. Hyun Woo then returns to the table to caution Ni-ya and her co-workers against disrespecting Seul-bi before finally leaving. Meanwhile, Seul-bi stops at a clothes shop after seeing a dress she likes on a mannequin. She requests a suitable size for herself, but the owner tells her that the dress only comes in one size. She also mocks Seul-bi's size using body language that Seul-bi immediately picks up and leaves. Seul-bi walks along the road while recalling how she has been a victim the whole day because of her size and starts tearing up. Later, she stops at a small neighborhood close to hers where she notices a cafe signboard, which she has never taken note of. She walks into the shop curiously and is welcomed by Jun Zhang, a mysterious barista. She then requests a cup of Americano, which he puts on a show to prepare, before offering it to her But before she drinks from it, he chants Kappa 3 times, asking her to repeat after him. Sool-B finds it weird, but she repeats after him anyway before drinking the coffee. A while later, she exits the cafe and unknowingly transforms into a slender, prettier woman. While walking along the streets, people start staring at her, but she thinks it's the usual stare they give her because she's overweight. However, she soon realizes what she looks like and goes back to look for the cafe owner, who seems to have vanished into thin air. She freaks out at first, but soon gets comfortable with herself. She then goes shopping, dancing, and even poses as a model for a makeup advertisement. She returns home later that night and gets a call from Dong-gu, who warns her that Hyun-woo had been worried and is coming to check up on her. Simultaneously, she transforms back into her chubby self before hearing a sound at her door. But it turns out it's her roommate, Park Ah-ryum, who had just returned home. Sool-B then leaves the house in a hurry with the dress she had ruined. She heads straight to the cafe and surprisingly finds the barista there. She demands to know what happened to her and accuses Jang of using drugs, but Jang calmly tells her that he is a god. She then calls him the god of idiots and threatens to call the police, prompting Jang to explain himself. He tells her that whenever he changes location, he also changes his appearance to fit in with the population. And finally, he tells her that his customer for Korea happens to be her, which is why his coffee worked magic on her. She then sarcastically asks where all the magic has vanished to. So he explains to her that once the caffeine runs out, she will return to her old self. But Sool-B still insists that she had been drugged by him and leaves. Once outside, she calls Hyun-woo to apologize for not keeping in touch the whole day. Hyun-woo then tells her that what matters is that she's okay. She then requests to work from home just for the day and turn in the work first thing in the morning, which Hyun-woo easily agrees to. The following day, Ah-ryum wakes Sool-B up to show her a post from a so-called goddess of Yeonnam-dong, which happens to be the slim version of Sool-B. After Ah-ryum leaves, Sool-B gets a second thought about everything and immediately returns to the cafe. Surprisingly, Jang has been expecting her. He welcomes her and warns her about how long the caffeine can last and when to know that her time is up. He also tells her that she can only have 1 cup of coffee per day and that the different kinds of coffee come from different outfits. And most importantly, he informs her that the faster her heartbeat, the faster the caffeine runs out. Afterward, she picks cafe mocha, and after drinking, she transforms back into the slim version. She then goes to Shim-kung-tun, where she introduces herself to Hyun-woo as a friend of Sool-B. She also lies to Hyun-woo that Sool-B had a severe stomach ache and had to go through an appendectomy. Hyun-woo then asks how she was able to send in the work if she's at the hospital, so she tells him that she had sent it. He then tries calling her, but she stops him, saying she's asleep after the stress. Hyun-woo gets worried that Sool-B has said she's okay when she's not. Sool-B then tells him that she was sent by Sool-B to take her place in the meantime, but Hyun-woo rejects her offer, saying she should be with Sool-B since she's her friend. Later that afternoon, Sool-B finds Hyun-woo and Yi-na having lunch together. She gets jealous seeing them flirting, but is almost harassed by a man who thinks she's pretty. Later that day, while Hyun-woo is working, he is reminded of Sool-B and starts to wonder if he was too hard on her. Meanwhile, Ah-ryum, who is on her way home, spots the slim Sool-B leaving their house. She then starts to wonder why she was there in the first place. That evening, the slim Sool-B sneaks up on Hyun-woo to hand over some of her drawings to prove to him that she's capable of working with him. However, Hyun-woo shows no interest in hiring her. She then tells him that Sool-B will be going back to her hometown to fully recover after being discharged from the hospital. Still, Hyun-woo doesn't show any interest, and after a series of persuasion, he finally agrees on the condition that she gets Sool-B's permission. She then excuses herself to use the restroom, but Hyun-woo calls her. Stealing the opportunity, she tells Hyun-woo that she's okay with her friend taking her place for the time being. After being welcomed to the crew, she realizes that her caffeine meter says 5%. She immediately rushes out of the office, but stops when Hyun-woo asks for her name. Before leaving, she introduces herself as Oh Go-yoon, the name of Hyun-woo's webtoon female lead. That night, Seul-bi, who is filled with joy, takes Ah-ryum out for a meal and offers to pay. While eating, she gets a call from Hyun-woo, who asks if she's enjoying her meal. At first, she tells him it's delicious, but then realizes that she has been caught. Turning to her right, she finds Hyun-woo standing beside her in disappointment. Seul-bi tries to explain things to Hyun-woo, but she thinks twice about him actually believing that she had drunk a magical coffee. Instead, she tells him that she'll explain when the time is right, but Hyun-woo asks to never see her again for making a fool out of him. Seul-bi then decides that she will live the best of life as Oh Go-yoon instead of dwelling in the past. She returns to the cafe to take her dose of coffee, then goes to work now as Oh Go-yoon. Hyun-woo actually enjoys working with her since she's energetic and thoughtful, just like Seul-bi. During one of their breaks, she finds out from Hyun-woo's best friend, Moon Young-won, who now lives in an empty room in the company, that Hyun-woo has never dated a girl. His colleagues are left in awe and laugh at him as Young-won continues to make fun of him. Jung-yu then invites him to Go-yoon's welcome party, but he declines, saying he has a meeting to attend. Young-won then tells him to come after the meeting, but he gives the go-ahead, saying he might not make it. Later that night, Hyun-woo gets annoyed that the team must be having fun without him, and for not knowing that it's his birthday. So he sends for a roll of bubble wraps to be delivered to his house in 30 minutes. Young-won then asks one of the guys to help him out, but they both leave to avoid Hyun-woo's reaction. Go-yoon then immediately offers to take it to his home. Meanwhile, Yi-na finds a book that Hyun-woo had left when he was with her, so she decides to take it to him. On the other hand, Go-yoon arrives at Hyun-woo's house and inputs the password Young-won had told her. She drops the bubble wrap, but instead of leaving, she starts snooping around. And while playing with his perfume, Hyun-woo arrives home. She immediately hides to avoid being seen, but Hyun-woo suspects a thief must have entered his house. He equips an umbrella ready to attack, but finds out that it's not a thief but Go-yoon who had entered his house. A while later, after explaining how she got there, Hyun-woo accuses her of trying to steal his perfume since she had it in her hand while trying to escape. She apologizes and tries to find something to calm him down while he tries to make her leave. Go-yoon, however, is persistent. He struggles with her and accidentally falls back down on the couch, pulling her along. Just then, Yi-na enters and immediately misunderstands the situation. Later that night, Ah-ryum is on her way home when she notices Go-yoon running up the stairs. She immediately follows but enters their apartment to meet Seul-bi. Meanwhile, Hyun-woo can't stop thinking about what happened between him and Go-yoon, so he tries to distract himself. The following morning, Ah-ryum starts suspecting that Seul-bi is, as usual, being scammed by people telling her they can make her slim, so she starts acting defensive. Seul-bi then tells her that it's not what she thinks and that she's just busy, but Ah-ryum doesn't believe her and tells her she'll help her get her money back from the scammers. Seul-bi, who is unable to convince her that she's Go-yoon, then asks her to follow her. They both arrive at the cafe, where Seul-bi introduces her to Jang. She then orders an Americano, and after drinking, she leaves with Ah-ryum. On exiting the cafe, Seul-bi transforms into Go-yoon, while Ah-ryum, who is in disbelief, faints from the shock. Later, they arrive at Seul-bi's bus stop, and Ah-ryum decides to support her anyway by reminding her that she's a new Lee Seul-bi and must act so. On reaching the office, Yi-na, who has been waiting, warns Go-yoon to stay away from her man. Hyun-woo then enters the office, but Yi-na pretends to be having a friendly talk with Go-yoon and immediately leaves. After their meeting, Hyun-woo tells everyone to wrap things up so they can close early the next day, before their release date. But after the meeting, Go-yoon meets him in his office to tell him that she doesn't feel the sparks in the first episode of their webtoon. Due to her suggestion, Hyun-woo decides that they would pull an all-nighter in order to redo the first episode. Go-yoon feels devastated and blames herself after realizing that she will become her real self once the caffeine wears out. But it was completely unavoidable. As a result, she times herself so she would be able to cover more work in time to escape when no one is looking. After hours of working, she tries to leave but runs into Hyun-woo, so she returns to her seat to continue working. Occasionally, Young-won would step in to get everyone's spirits up, but Go-yoon's spirit only wanted to leave the office as soon as possible. A few more hours later, she realizes she's at 5% and successfully escapes the guys. But the moment she exits the building, Hyun-woo grabs her hands, giving her a cold glare. That was all from the video. I hope you like it. Subscribe for more content like this and hit the like button to help us out. Also, leave a comment if you want us to recap your favorite movie. Until next time, take care.